video, we're going to be going over the beginnings of how I'm teaching TT how to recall. The tools that I'm using right now on him are going to be the prong collar, or his prong collar, and the flexi lead. The flexi lead goes to about 26 feet, so he's got a lot of room to move around. So right now, I'm kind of just getting the feel for him on the flexi lead. It's the retractable leash. Sorry, Flexi is the brand. So the retractable leash. I prefer the brand Flexi, but it doesn't really matter. So anyway, so the reason why I'm using the Flexi lead specifically is because it's less for me to have to deal with. I don't have to reel a long line in and out of my hands and make sure the dog doesn't trip on it, make sure I'm not stepping on it. And that's the primary reason why I like to use the Flexi leash. So let's see. Let's actually back up a little bit. So we're actually about to do, I believe, the first recall. Let's watch. Did you come? Yeah. Beautiful. All right. So right here, you're gonna see that I said his name to get his attention. His name means look at me. Under any circumstances, if I say your name, look at me. I will use the name. I will use his name to get his attention from a distraction. Or also, what I'll do is I'll do it to check his attentiveness to me. So if I'm noticing that there's a lot of dogs going on, a lot's going on, and I say his name, I can use that as an indicator to tell me how well he's engaged with me. And then I can go ahead and take it from there. If he's not listening to his name, then I know that I need to create distance and remove him from the situation, regain engagement with him, so that him and I are on the same playing field. Him and I are kind of the same mental level. I'm paying attention to him, he's paying attention to me. But that won't be until he knows his name, if that's something you would like to implement. So what I'm noticing here in the videos is he's actually, which is fantastic to see, you'll see he's not going that far away from me, and what that's telling me is that there's a little bit of tension on the flexi because there's a spring inside. There's a spring mechanism inside to help it pull it back in, and he's feeling that pressure and coming towards me. He's actually doing what is good, and he is relieving that pressure by coming close. And you'll also see it's about 12 inches of slack or of leash right there that does not go in, and he's coming up until that point to relieve that pressure. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the beginning of this video, and I want to show you what I was seeing with his behavior. Now on this flexi, I totally understand that he's not understanding how to deal with this pressure. Okay, what I am noticing he's doing is he is walking in front of me a lot. So he is moving in front of me, but he moves to a point where he's touching me and is not moving when I put pressure on him. That could be a couple different things playing at once. One of that is he could just have zero awareness of his butt, which is basically he doesn't realize that he has back feet. He just thinks he has front feet. So he's just bumping into me. But another thing I can see it being is I wouldn't say it's a dominance thing. It's a measure of how much control he thinks he has over me, potentially. So what I'm going to do in order to counteract that is I'm going to, in his language, through pressure and not moving, tell him that, hey, when you bump into me, when you run into me, see right there, actually let me back it up. He's walking in front of me and using his hips to kind of push me a little bit, and what I'm doing is I'm maintaining my path. I'm not changing my stride, I'm not changing my speed, I'm not any of that. I'm going to continue to walk the direction that I need to walk because he needs to move out of my way. It kind of helps with the quote-unquote leadership position where he goes, okay, I'm not paying attention, so I need to look to my human to tell me what's going on. Okay, so I just wanted to address that first. That's something I think is very important to implement, is when you are walking with your dog and they are cutting in front of you and they are using their back end, or not using their back end, but they are their back end is hitting you a lot, like their back legs, their butt, their hips, stuff like that, is like bumping into you, and you find yourself moving, he is learning that when I do this, you move out of my way. And that is simple dog language. That is how dogs communicate, is by spatial pressure. Is one of the ways they communicate. Okay? So let's go back to the recall. So with the recall, what I'm doing is I'm saying his name first, and then I am saying his command. What I'm looking for is a speedy return to me. I want him to orientate his vision to me, and then I want him to run to me, okay? So because he is a little sensitive with the prong collar, which is great, I need to take it kind of a different approach. I'm going to do a lot of walking. There's, I think, maybe 3 or maybe 5 reps of the come command in this video. And you're going to see me here test out this theory here in a minute. I'm going to make this leash longer, and I'm going to see if he, there it is. So it's pretty long now. Say it's about 10 feet. I'm moving away from him, and I'm going to see how he reacts. So now you're going to see him walk away, and before he was kind of coming back to me, he was kind of still, his body was moving towards me in a general aspect. Now there's nothing. Okay, let me see. Did I use a come right there? No, I didn't. Okay. This is me just kind of feeling him out.
Come?
Yeah. Seeing what's going on. Alright, so that's a really good one. So he was looking at what's going on. So the direction he's looking is the agility field. So there's dogs running around. So what I did is I was like, perfect, this is a distraction. I'm just going to say his name.
Did you come?
Yep. Yeah. Did he come? Which means I want you to orientate to me and come here. When he is about halfway, or when he is, when I see his brain is set on coming to me, I'm going to use his yes marker, which is takes a picture in time for the dog to realize this is what I'm being rewarded for. So it's a snapshot for the dog. It makes it a little bit more clear for them to understand. See how he's naturally still coming toward me? It's because of that tension in that flexi that he's coming toward, which is fantastic. I just need to desensitize him to that pressure so he understands. Another thing that I did was my treat pouch was originally on my right hip. What I saw him doing was he's paying attention to my treat pouch. I don't want him to give any attention to my treat pouch. What I want him to do is pay attention to me. So what I did was, instead of having it on my hip, I put it the center of my back, like on my belt loop, or like on my pants, but in the center behind me, so that whenever he sees me, so no matter how I reach it, it's gonna be coming from behind me either way. That way he doesn't see where it's specifically coming from. All right, let's go to the next video.
Did you come?
Okay, so this is a great video. All right, so you'll see the line is slack. It's dragging on the floor, which means that the spring is not engaged. It's locked at a certain distance. What I'm going to do is, so he also does not feel it. This line is super short, so he does not feel the weight of it very much if it's just dragging along. So what I'm going to do here is say his name, recall, and then I'm actually going to unlock the retractable leash, and I'm going to use that pressure to pull him into me.
Did you come? Yes.
And at this point, I marked him when he got to me.
What?
And I'm also using his release command that he seems familiar with, so I'm just going to keep it. So I just keep using that. He's so happy today. I'm just trying to find opportunities to recall him because he is so sensitive to his training collar. All right, next one. Oh, that one doesn't have it. Oh. All right.
Did you come?
So here we move to a different area. This is farther back in the field. So we're going to be off the grass, different ground, different scents. There's going to be a different kind of scents around here, different than like dogs. There's going to be like birds and more wild animals in this area, like the scent on the floor in this area. So right here, I did the, instead of relying on the tension of the flexi lead to bring him in, what I actually did was I popped him. The reason why I popped him is I want some urgency in this moment. I want to see how he's going to respond when I pop him in this way. Does he become more shy? Is he more exuberant? Does he speed up? Does he slow down? Is he confident? I'm trying to see where he's at. So I'm going to call his name, and I'm actually going to pop him on the leash to get him to come to me. Almost like a correction, but it's more of like a hurry up pressure.
Titi, come. Yes. Good boy. Good job, Bubba. Good job.
We also get to see him interact with a van. It's my personal van. Oh, and also what I'm doing, so he sees it. It's a big white van. He sees it. So what I'm actually doing is I'm using his uncomfortability to vehicles to help me with this recall. So he is actually avoiding the van at this point. He doesn't really want to interact with it all that much, and that's what he's walking away from me. He's trying to get away from what looks like like the van, but it looks like I'm walking towards it. So whenever he comes over to me and his tail's a little tucked a little bit, I'm using that. Okay, he's going to go away from me. Perfect. Even when there's something scary next to me, I still want him to recall. That's what I'm kind of showing him right there. Is, hey, everything's fine. You recall, we're all good. Okay. Now we're going to go investigate the van. Now here, I'm not saying much to him. I'm allowing him to use his best ability, and that's his nose. I'm allowing him to sniff the area. I'm letting him to sniff the van. There is a ventilation fan blowing on the top, so there's some noise, but the van actually isn't running. I'm just allowing him to explore at his own pace. I don't want him to I don't want to pressure him into anything. Where were we? So at the end of a session, a lot of the times, I don't recall if I do it in this particular section, but I don't do training right up into him going back into his crate. So I did another recall right there, and he's doing really, really well. I'll actually give him a little bit of breathing room. So like when we get closer to when we get closer distance to where the kennel is, I will actually reduce the reps that I do unless I see an opportunity like this. Now he's like wanting to go in that direction away from the van. So I'm using this to do the reps. But in general, whenever I'm doing a training session, I like to give them some breathing room so that they can decompress from learning that lesson. All right, let's do that recall again.
Yes. Titi, come. Yes. Good job. What?
So yeah, at this point, I do one more when we get up onto the pavement, but other than that, he just got the sniff. He got to decompress because the van is a scary thing for him. So I wanted to make sure that he.
You find a Tweedo out there?
So that
you find a Tweedo out